Hi guys, welcome to another Seasons in Garden video. Today I'm going to show you how I made my harvest basket. I had some old wood lying around, a couple of 1x2s and some siding that came as a packaging material for the garden hubs that we have. And I cut the 1x2s and the sidings to 30 centimeter length. This is approximate measurement, so you could in theory just take 1 foot and measure everything in 1 foot. And like I said, I cut everything into that measure, so everything for frames, at least outside of the frames, was cut to 30 centimeters. After the cutting, I pre-drilled the holes and then I screwed in the screws to make the frames. So I used 3 1x2s to make the top of the frame, and then slotted in 2 of the siding boards, attached each one with 2 screws on the side, small screws. Definitely pre-drilled the holes for this one because these were so thin and so easy to split, so they needed the holes. And with the 2 of my frames done, I then realized that I also need a bottom board to hold my chicken wire. And I measured and cut, even though it was also 30 centimeters in length, I measured and cut the bottom boards. And since my meter saw was actually set to 1 degree, it was all a bit tight. And I took 1 willow branch to use as a handle. After that was done, I proceeded to cut my chicken wire. I didn't measure it precisely, I just eyed it. So it's approximately 50 centimeters in length, which is a bit more than 1.5 feet. And after the chicken wire was cut, I bent the tops of the wire to a 90-degree angle so that I can slot the wire directly to the frame. And I can more easily staple the wire onto the frame. I did that on both sides of the wire. And after that was done, I was ready to combine the harvest basket. So I took one of the frames and I measured the center of the bottom board. On this center, I'm going to put the center of my chicken wire. Now my chicken wire has a thin little wire running all through the middle of it. And this proved a great help in setting the middle of the wire to the middle of the frame. This way, both of the sides of the wire were the exact same length. And after I put my wire onto the frame, I took my staple gun and I missed the middle of the wire. But I soldiered on and I stapled all of the wire to the bottom. And then I flipped the wire with the frame on the frame side, and I stapled the wire to the side of the frame. Then I flipped it one more time and stapled the wire to the other side of the same frame. I did the exact same procedure with the second frame, and that produced the result I was looking for. I could see now how my harvest basket is starting to look. And I realized that the tops of the chicken wire are sticking out. So I cut a length of the 1x2 to fit on the bottom and 2 small pieces of the 1x2 to fit on each of the sides and to cover the tops of the chicken wire. And I also screwed that with the screws to the frame itself. This pulled the chicken wire a bit more to the frame making the harvest basket much more stable and much more firm. And also it's going to protect my hands from the wire itself, because let's face it, I'm clumsy. In this video you can actually see that I have like an allergic reaction on something in the garden because I forgot my gloves. Just be mindful that when you are attaching the protection that you don't split the wood. I know, I'm an animal, I push too hard and then the wood splits. So I went ahead and I changed the one part that has split off the camera so that it's I no longer have a split board. When one side was done, I did the exact same thing on the other side, and now my frames were finally done. I could move on to the handle. Like I said, for my handle I'm using a branch of our willow tree that we copied this winter, and I thought that I cut it to the correct length, but it turned out that it was still a bit too long. Also, I had one little hole in my old chicken wire that I just quickly fixed. So I measured my handle again, and I cut it off on my meter saw, which by now I realized was set to 1 degree. When the handle was cut, I used 2 long screws to screw it to the frame. You could use two screws per side here. I was using only 1 per side, so now when I lift my harvest basket by the handle, the handle moves slightly. This is something that I'm going to resolve in the next iteration. For the end, I decided to add one extra 1x2. So I added it at the bottom of the basket because I noticed that the basket is a bit wobbly. And when I was pleased with how it looked like, I also used 2 very long screws to fasten the middle board to the rest of the frame. 1 screw per each side. Just make sure that the screws you are using are the appropriate length. I first started to screw it in with the smaller screws, then I realized, okay, these are too small, I need bigger ones. One extra tip: when you are screwing this, when you are attaching the middle board to the frame, make sure that you actually press on the area and that you hold the middle board down, because as you are pushing in the screw, it will start to lift the board slightly up and then it might get wonky. And here I start to press. I mean, the damage was already done, but at least it wasn't too great of a damage. And with this, my harvest basket is done. To test it out, I used it for my onion harvest that was happening at that time. Thank you very much for watching, and especially if you managed to stay through this hell of a long video. Stay safe, take care, bye bye. Subscribe and like.